Now, let us look at the organization, the political organization of the Aztec Empire. So, on top of the political organization was the emperor, just as it is the empire is always led by the emperor. Emperor. So, in their language was given this name, that is Wei Tlatkan. Wei Tlatkan. So he was on top and the great speaker. He was on top of the political hierarchy and he was also the great speaker, a person whom when he speaks, everybody pays attention. And also he was supported by the priests, the city councils, the judges, governors, as well as some officials. So he had no absolute power. So there you have to see to it that the emperor himself, he was different from others, whereby he had no absolute powers. So he was voted into power democratically, and he could also be removed. So that's the emperor who was Wei Tlatkan. So let us look at the social class of the Aztec Empire, the social class. The Aztec, they had the nobles in their society and commoners. They had also the serfs as well as the slaves. So that is how they were categorized in their society. Now, nobility, that is the people, the nobles, those nobles, it was hereditary. That is, those people, influential people, or all those well-to-do people, recognized people of the society, those people, they were hereditary. That is, if you are born to a noble person, you become a noble by birth. So that's what it means there. So nobles and the commoners, they were the ones who owned land, and the serfs, they were working on the farms for the nobles. So that is how they were categorized in their societies. And the last class, they are made up of prisoners, the debtors, the females and children of prisoners of war. So you can see to it that even debtors, those people who had debts, those who had ngongole, all those they were into the last class, the very last class, they are regarded as also the prisoners, and also the females and children of those prisoners of wars. They were to the bottom of their society. And also the male prisoners, they were sacrificed to their gods. So take note of that, to say that the sacrifice, just as we have been mentioning from the beginning, that the sacrifice was the order of the day. So all the male prisoners of war, those ones, they were sacrificed as they were offered a sacrifice to their gods. So let's look at the administrative divisions. How was the administration divided in the Aztec Empire? So the empire was divided into districts. So just know that the empire was divided into districts that were called the Kapuli. We also mentioned this name. And each district was ruled by a household head. It was ruled by a household head. So the head of the household was ruling after the district. So each district had 100 families. So 100 families, they formed a kapuli or a district. And the household heads selected the chief to rule the district. So the household heads, they were selecting the chief to rule in their district. So the ruler oversaw the setting up of a school for the Teopokali, meaning the common citizens. So also the ruler, he supervised the tax collection. Tax collection was also the order of the day in the Aztec Empire. And also most areas of the empire were organized under the city-states. So the city-states, they were called Ate, Atepet, Atepet. So these city-states, they were ruled by a king known as Hatwani the king. So remember, just as I mentioned, to say the clue is to know what is there. For example, we are mentioning of the city-states. So you may not be forced to mention this at repetitive, but you have to know that they were the empire were organized under city-states. They were the city-states which were given the special names, and there was also the city-states were ruled by a king. So that king was given a special name which we can able pronounce here as Hatwani. Economy. Let's look at the economy of the Aztec Empire. So the Aztecs, to maintain their society, they based much on agriculture and commerce. So their economy was mainly depending on agriculture and commerce. So the Aztec empire, it was hegemonic. So you have to understand this one as to say that they were not imposing, they were not exerting the supreme authority over the conquered lands. That is to say, they were leaving them so that they just know that they have been conquered. So they were just expected to pay the tribute to the empire. So that is what is called hegemonic, to say the conquered people, they were left alone, they were to be independent, but they were just paying the tribute to the Aztec. Now let us look at the factors. What were the factors that contributed to the decline of the Aztec Empire? Number one was the division among the people under the empire. So the empire itself, areas, they were divided. Areas were divided, just as you have seen there. We have seen that the top leader, he was to be voted into power and be removed like that. So with that, then we see to it that there was some weakness there. So it was divided. The areas were divided, and the empire, it was very big. It was vast, so vast, and made the situation worse. So the empire itself was very big to be ruled by one person. And again, the rulers were good military and not administrative skills. So they were good at military skills and not administrative. That is the rulers of the Aztec Empire. Another factor for the decline was the shortage of food. So the farmers, they failed to adopt the new farming techniques and they relied on the old method, which led to the scarcity of food. So you see to it that the world is changing. Even this one is true in our country today. You find that you go into the villages, people are still using the very old methods of farming. As such, they are not able to produce much. At the same time, they have big families that need maybe more food. So as a result, you find that each and every year we depend on the government to support the poor people now and again. But then an element of not following the new farming techniques is also common in our country up to this day. So we learn to it to our friends in the Aztec Empire here to say it led to the scarcity of food. They were farming, yes, but they were following the old methods of farming. So it's good that when you hear that there's this new farming method is better, you try it. Maybe you try it now and again, you find that at some point it works. Sometimes people, they fail to adopt to new farming techniques because sometimes they start, you find that that year some other factors are not okay, like maybe the rains are not good that year, then they say no, because of this farming method, then I have failed to harvest. So it's good to adopt new farming techniques. Another factor was the human sacrifice. The human sacrifice, this one, it reduced people who have been engaged in productive, who could have been engaged in a productive work and defense in the empire. And also, it instilled hatred among the victims. So It was evil practice which made the empire fall. Just as we mentioned that the sacrifice, it was almost each and every day they were supposed to offer the sacrifice. As a result, people, productive people, were killed, were killed. Hence, the empire depleted itself of energetic people who could develop their society. And also attacked by the disease. So smallpox reduced the population of the Aztecs. So they were attacked by smallpox. So the emperor uh, Katlahuac, Emperor Kuitlahuac, also died of smallpox, and it killed so many soldiers in the empire. So the disease claimed about 25% of the population. So 25% of the population, they died of the smallpox. Also, another factor for the decline was the conquest by the Spaniards or the Spanish. So this was done between 1519 and 1521, that is AD. So the Spanish under Hernando Cortes, they visited the land or the Aztec. From Spain, they crossed the ocean up to America there and reached Mexico. So there then they conquered and captured the Tenochtitlan, that is the capital of the Aztec Empire. So the Spaniards, they led to the decline of the Aztec Empire. Also religion. Religion was another factor that also contributed. The Aztecs, they thought that the Spaniards were the gods and therefore they were friendly to them. They were friendly to these new visitors. Hence, the Aztecs, they lacked in destroying the Spanish army. In the end, the Spanish army destroyed the Aztecs. So what happened was that when Hernando Cortes came, the Aztecs, they believed that one day, their savior will come and will come with an army like that. So when he came, Hernando Cortes, when he arrived, they welcomed them. They said, "Oh, this is our savior whom we have been waiting." They forgot that those were fortune seekers. They were also looking for good things that which they can acquire. As a result, the Spaniards or the Spanish, they easily defeated the Aztec Empire. Now let's look at the contributions. What are some of the contributions of the Aztec Empire to the modern world? Number one is the collection of tax collection. So they developed an effective system of collection of tax from the citizens as well as the conquered territory. So they were getting the tax from all the citizens as well as those who have been defeated. And also writing is another contribution. The Aztecs, they wrote the pictographs or the small pictures that were symbolizing the objects or sounds of the syllables. So they were writing in pictographs. So those ones were representing the sound, how you can pronounce something. Another contribution is architecture. So they were using stones and bricks in their construction, and they built so good things, magnificent houses, good houses, beautiful houses, palaces, the temples, plazas, and other structures. They also built the story houses, the upstairs. They were building those story houses. And on sculpture, as another contribution, they also used stones to make sculptures. For example, the calendar stone that represented the universe, they made those things. So these items, they made them to represent the gods and sacrificial victims. So they were carving different things that were representing their gods as well as the victims of sacrifices. As well as the Aztecs, also they kept realistic figurines of people and animals out of quartz, obsidian, and jade. So these are the minerals or the rocks. So they were making the real things, the reality of things, or like the figures of people, to say this one is king so, this is the animal so, like that. So they are making them from these minerals, that is quartz, obsidian, and jade. So the world today, it is also owing part of the scripture works that were done by the Aztecs. And also painting was another thing contributed by the Aztecs to the modern world. So on painting, they were painting the walls and paper, uh, the paintings on the walls and paper made of pounded bark, which was called amator. Yeah, so the paintings were made for the gods and the religious ceremonies. So they were writing, they were painting different things. And they were saying that they were making paper from the pounded bark, the bark of the trees. They were taking the trees, the barks, and pounding it, and they were making paper out of that. So they were painting different things for their gods and the other religious ceremonies. Tools and crafts also is another contribution of the Aztecs to the modern world. So women, they were spinning, they spun cotton and marge fiber into thread. So they were making cotton into fiber. And again, the threads was later woven into cloth with beautiful designs. So feathers were knotted into webs from which mantle, headdress, and banners were also made. So they were also skillful in getting the feathers, and they were knitting them into something which were used for the mantle or the hats, as well as the headdress or other banners. They were using the feathers to do that. If you go to the Aztec, if you Google, you go to the website or to the internet, you Google about the Aztecs, you find such things of made of feathers and the like. So it all started with the women who were spinning those things. So clay was also used to make storage jars, griddles, goblets, and other kind of vessels. So we can say that they were also practicing pottery. They were doing that pottery because they were making jars from the clay. And later they fashioned the jewelry using the gold and copper, emerald, turquoise, and jade. So they were also getting gold and other minerals to fashion different things, the jewelry. That is the necklaces, the bangles, and the like. They were made of precious stones. Another contribution of the Aztecs is agriculture. They contributed agriculture to the modern world. So they reclaimed land from the lake. That's why we mentioned of the dikes. If you remember, sometime or last time we mentioned of the dikes to say they were making the dikes. So to reclaim a land from the lake, you have to make a dike somewhere so that you drain the water from the other side. So they also introduced the floating gardens, which was called chinampas. Chinampas was the floating garden. So this chinampas, it were it was a garden where mud and decayed plant materials are raised from the water and crops are grown on it. So it is like maybe we can take maybe it's a dam there, but it's a dumping site and there is water there, but you dump things there. As a result, those things, after they decay, then you go there and get them, put them somewhere, and you plant your crops. So that was called chinampas. So today, land reclamation is also common in different countries of the world. Universal education is another contribution of the Aztec Empire. So they paid more attention for education to the young people. So they were educating their young ones. So they did not overlook the education of the young ones. As such, children aged between 12 and 15, they went through compulsory education in school. This was called kukakari. the House of Songs. So it was called the House of Songs, that is the school. They learned ceremonial songs and cosmology of their people. That is the world in which their people were living. They were learning about that. That is the cosmos or the cosmology. That is the universe. They were learning about the universe in which the people are living. So any child who failed to attend school would be severely punished. So that was it. That's why we are saying that they followed compulsory. It was compulsory because any child failing to go to school, he was or she was to receive a severe punishment. So girls, they also learned domestic chores from their mothers. So girls, they were also supposed to be taught how to take care of the home by their mothers. And boys, they learned different trade from their fathers. So fathers were concentrating again at home with boys. And young ones, they were given only a small amount of food so that they learned how to quench their appetite. So the young ones, they were just given small food so that they know how to control themselves, how to control their appetites. So that's why they were given just small foods so that they learn how to control themselves. Alcohol prohibition is another contribution of the Aztecs into the modern empire, modern world. So the Aztecs, they allowed alcohol consumption to only persons aged 70 and above. Any person below, it was illegal. So you can see it today. Today, alcohol is not allowed to people who are under the age of 18. So under the age of 18, consumption of alcohol is not allowed. Most of the countries, they have that rule to say no under age. That's why when someone reaches the 18 and above, that one, they say now he has some maturity in him, because by 18 years you are expected maybe to finish your secondary level. At that time you are at college level, you are able to think independently. That's why maybe today they have allowed it at 18. But in the Aztec Empire it was not 18, it was 70 years. 70 years. Someone who is old is someone who is supposed to take beer. And again, soccer. They have contributed soccer. So we are saying the Aztecs, they played a game which could be very well have been a precursor to football. So it is they played a game, just as we mentioned earlier, to say it was related to football because it was like a ball. They were playing using their elbows, their knees, like that, and their hips. So it was like the starting point of football. And this one, it was called Olama. The game was called Olama and was played on a field called Tiashtil. Tiashtil was the field of play of the Olama. Medicine was another contribution, or is another contribution that the Aztecs, they have contributed to the world. So they used medicine to prevent muscle spasms and to relax the muscle during the surgery. So you see to it they are performing surgery and they were using special medicine to relax the muscles. And again, they also used passion flower, which is believed to help in insomnia. So they were using also some flowers, which is called passion flower, for some other diseases, to heal some other diseases, insomnia, epilepsy, and high blood pressure. So we see to it that they contributed to medicine. And also the physicians, the Aztec physicians, also fixed broken bones and treated dental cavities. Steam baths, dental cavities, setting of broken bones are also therapies still practiced today. So we see to it that the Aztecs, they have contributed much in what today we are doing. So we are saying that when you break your bone, they were able to fix it, to bring it back. And the dental cavities, they were able to treat those things. So today we are able to do that, borrowing from the knowledge from the Aztecs. And lastly is the transport and communication. Transport and communication, that is another contribution of the Aztec to the modern world. So they used animals for transport. So they were using animals for transport. They also built roads which were used for both animals and people to travel. And in those roads, there were special places for rest and to eat, and even latrine to use them. So they were placed at regular intervals. So people were traveling long distances, maybe for trade and other things. So as such, what they were doing was that they put some resting places along the way. So they were at different intervals or regular intervals to say, all right, you travel maybe a distance of 10 kilometers or 15 kilometers, you find that like there's like a semi-town there. You find there is a place you can rest, a place you can eat, or there are latrines you can leave yourself. You can rest a little while, you proceed. After you move again, maybe 15 or 20 kilometers, you find another semi-town there. You can also find those things that could assist you. So this concept is still in practice in different parts of the world even today. So it's true today. When you are on the road, you find that there are places, there are towns or in different places where you can stop and rest, you can buy food, you can leave yourself there, things like those. So we are borrowing that idea from the Aztec Empire. So to this far, we have come to the end of this topic, and this we have been looking at the Aztec Empire. Now, on the Aztec Empire, we have seen the location and the people who founded this Aztec Empire. We have seen that it was in Central America, that is today Mexico. And we have also seen the organization, how it was organized, or the factors that contributed to the rise of this empire. And we have also looked at the factors for the decline as well as the contributions of the Aztec to the modern world. It has been a wonderful topic because we have encountered different names. As you can see, we have been failing to pronounce those names. But remember the trick, you have to know the real name or the function itself and not the name itself. So go for the function and not the name. If you center for the name, you may fail maybe to realize it well, but no, the king was called by another name. So just know they were kings. The gods, who were those gods? The god of the rain, the god of the dawn, the morning star, the chief god. They were all those things. If you mention them, then you are okay. You are okay. You just mention the chief god or the god of the rain, the goddess of so-so, goddess of the moon, things like those. If you know them, it's good that they were there. So we have encountered those names, but because we have come to an end, let me leave you with this now. So with me here is an exercise. So the exercise you are going to do it. Number one says explain the location of the Aztec Empire. And number two, it says explain briefly the origins of the Aztec Empire. And the other one says explain how religion contributed to the decline of the Aztec Empire. And also the other one says explain the organization of the Aztec Empire. How was it organized? And also give any three contributions of the Aztec to the modern world. So that's what you are going to do. But you are also going to handle an essay. This is a good essay that you are going to write. I expect you to write a very, very good essay on this one. So the essay asks you to do this. So on the essay, you are going to discuss factors that led to the rise of the Aztec Empire. What were the factors that led to the rise of the Aztec Empire? So I expect you to write a very, very good essay. Now, after you have answered all these questions, remember what we do. we do it like this. You write on paper, a piece of paper there, maybe 2 pages, 3 pages, no problem. Just write clearly the best handwriting that you write. So use that best handwriting of yours. Now, after you write, what you are going to do is you are going to capture that one. Get a photo or scan it. Then you send it via the WhatsApp. You send it via WhatsApp. That's why there is a WhatsApp number here. So you forward it to the WhatsApp number here. It can happen that you have the email address, or you can have access to the email address. Then you can also use the email address to send that thing which you have captured or you have scanned. So do that one. I'll be waiting for you to mark your thing. So after I mark, I'll also send you back via the same route. So remember to do that. Don't go to the next topic before you answer this exercise, because it is very, very, very important that I should know that you are following this thing. So next time we are proceeding. We are continuing with our work in Form 1, and next time we are going to look at this wonderful topic as well. So this other one, we are going to look at the Chinese civilization. So on the Chinese civilization, it is a wonderful topic. You know, today it's not a strange thing to hear about the Chinese. You go to every township, you find a China shop. They are the Chinese. So we are going to learn their history. We are going to learn about their country. Those people want to know more about the Chinese, so that when we see them, we have to say something about them, to say, all right, oh, these are the people who did this, and that. So this is the Chinese civilization. That is the next in our work. But you know what? This work is already on the DVD. It is already there. So what you can do is, the moment you have finished the Aztec Empire, the only thing you can do is to pick up that call and request for the Chinese civilization, whereby you are also going to have another experience on this one. So the DVD is ready for the Chinese civilization. So until that time, let's meet in the next topic. Thank you so much.